Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive with us. Today, we're going down a rabbit hole inspired by, you guessed it, Elon Musk, but with a twist.
A twist you might not expect.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're talking pennies.
Pennies. Now, this isn't your typical Musk crypto headline, right?
Right. Our source is an article from trcrypto.news, and it connects Musk to this seemingly mundane subject, but it also ties in a government agency in the world of cryptocurrency.
Okay, so break it down for me. What's the story here?
All right, so the article centers around the Department of Government Efficiency, or as they like to put it, DOGE, and it was formed during the Trump administration.
DOGE.
Yeah, DOGE.
Like Dogecoin.
Yeah, you got it.
Is there a connection with Elon Musk there?
Well, it seems like the timing of the agency's formation predates any public association between Musk and Dogecoin, so the connection appears to be more coincidental or maybe even satirical.
Okay, so no official link there, but this DOGE agency, they're using the penny as an example of government inefficiency, is that right? Yeah.
Exactly. They point out that it actually costs the U.S. Mint more than 1 cent to produce each penny.
Really?
Yes. In fact, their initial tweet claimed it costs around 3 cents per penny.
Wow.
And even CBS News, citing 2024 U.S. Mint data, reported an even higher cost of 3.7 cents.
So you're telling me that if I get a handful of pennies as change, the government's actually losing money on every single one?
That's exactly what's happening.
That seems counterintuitive.
It does, and this isn't even a new issue. The rising cost of zinc, a key component of the penny, has been pushing production costs up for years.
Wow. It makes you wonder why they haven't done anything about it.
Yeah.
Have other countries faced similar issues with their lowest denomination coins?
Absolutely. Canada, for example, they found themselves in a very similar situation, and ultimately they just decided to stop producing pennies altogether back in 2012.
They got rid of the penny?
They did. The cost of production simply exceeded the coin's face value. It just wasn't worth it anymore.
So how do they handle everyday transactions? Do they just round everything up to the nearest nickel?
For cash transactions, yes. They implemented a rounding system to the nearest 5 cents. However, electronic payments continued as usual without any rounding.
Interesting. Seems like a practical solution. But the article also brings Dogecoin into the mix, claiming that mining DOGE can sometimes cost more than its market value. How does that even work?
Well, mining any cryptocurrency, including Dogecoin, requires substantial computing power, and the biggest cost associated with that is electricity. And just like the rising price of zinc affects the penny, fluctuating electricity costs can impact the profitability of mining Dogecoin.
So depending on where you are mining and how much electricity costs in that region, mining Dogecoin could actually lead to a loss.
Precisely, if the cost of electricity exceeds the value of the Dogecoin mine, miners are essentially losing money. And this is especially relevant considering how volatile the cryptocurrency market is. Unlike the penny, which has a stable value, the price of Dogecoin can fluctuate drastically.
That makes sense. But how do Dogecoin miners adapt to these fluctuating costs? Do they just shut down their operations when electricity prices are high?
Not necessarily. They have a few options. One is to relocate their mining operations to areas with lower electricity costs. Another is to join mining pools.
What are mining pools?
Essentially, they're groups of miners who combine their computing power and share the rewards. This helps to mitigate risk for individual miners by spreading out the costs and increasing the chances of successfully mining coins.
So it's kind of a way for miners to team up and increase their odds of profitability.
Exactly. It's similar to how investors diversify their portfolios to reduce risk.
So we're seeing these parallels between the physical world of pennies and the digital world of Dogecoin. Both demonstrate how production or mining costs can sometimes outweigh the value of the thing being produced or mined.
That's a great observation, and it highlights a fundamental economic principle that the cost of production is a crucial factor in determining an item's value, regardless of whether it's a tangible object like a penny or a digital asset like Dogecoin. And it's not even just about the cost of production, it's also about efficiency. Like, if something costs more to make than it's actually worth, it raises the question of, is it even worth making at all?
Right, like with the penny, if it's costing the U.S. Mint 3.7 cents to make each one,
right,
that seems like a pretty clear sign that maybe it's time to, rethink things.
Exactly. And that's where the DOGE agency, the role becomes so interesting. They're tasked with finding ways to make the government more efficient.
Yeah.
And identifying potentially wasteful spending, like the production of pennies, is a key part of that.
So are they actually proposing that the U.S. get rid of the penny?
Well, it's unclear if they've made a formal recommendation or anything.
Okay.
But they've certainly highlighted the issue. And as we discussed, Canada's experience provides a real-world example of how a country can successfully eliminate its lowest denomination coin.
That brings up another point. Canada transitioned away from the penny back in 2012.
Yeah.
What can the U.S. learn from their experience, both the successes and the potential challenges?
Well, one key takeaway is that the transition was relatively smooth. Canadians adapted quickly to the rounding system for cash transactions. Retailers simply rounded purchases to the nearest 5 cents, and it didn't seem to cause any major disruptions.
But were there any negative consequences? Did businesses or consumers feel like they were losing out?
There were some initial concerns that rounding might lead to unfair pricing or that businesses would take advantage of the system. However, those concerns largely didn't materialize. Studies conducted after the transition found minimal impact on overall prices.
So it sounds like the fears were largely unfounded. But beyond the practicalities of rounding, were there any broader economic implications of Canada eliminating the penny?
Well, one argument in favor of eliminating the penny is that it could actually help to curb inflation.
Really?
Yeah, when prices are rounded up, it can create a slight upward pressure on prices overall.
That makes sense, but wouldn't getting rid of the penny also mean like losing a piece of American history? It's been part of our currency for so long.
That's a valid point. There's certainly a sentimental attachment to the penny for many people, but it's worth considering whether that nostalgia outweighs the economic inefficiencies of continuing to produce a coin that costs more to make than it's worth.
It's a complex issue with no easy answers. But shifting gears a bit, let's talk more about the connection between penny production and Dogecoin mining. What other parallels can we draw between these two seemingly disparate worlds?
Well, one key similarity is the importance of technological innovation, just as rising zinc prices have put pressure on the penny's production costs. The ever-evolving landscape of cryptocurrency mining technology plays a crucial role in determining profitability.
So you're saying that Dogecoin miners need to constantly adapt to new technologies to stay ahead of the game?
Absolutely. The development of more efficient mining hardware and algorithms directly impacts how much it costs to mine Dogecoin. Those who fall behind risk becoming unprofitable. It's a constant race to stay competitive.
It sounds a lot like the pressure faced by the U.S. Mint to find ways to make penny production more cost-effective.
Exactly. Both scenarios highlight how technological advancements can disrupt existing systems and force adaptation.
It's fascinating to see how these seemingly unrelated topics share common threads. But before we go any further, let's take a step back and clarify something for our listeners. We've been talking a lot about the cost of mining Dogecoin, but what exactly does that process entail?
Sure, essentially, mining involves using powerful computers to solve complex mathematical problems.
Okay.
These problems are designed to be difficult and time-consuming to solve, requiring a significant amount of computational power.
And the miners who solve these problems are rewarded with Dogecoin.
That's right. It's a way to verify transactions and add new blocks to the Dogecoin blockchain, ensuring the security and integrity of the network.
So it's not just about making money, it's also about contributing to the overall functioning of the Dogecoin network.
Exactly. Mining plays a crucial role in maintaining the decentralized nature of cryptocurrencies without miners. Transactions wouldn't be verified, and the system would be vulnerable to attacks.
It's a complex process, but it's fascinating to see how it all works. It seems like Dogecoin mining, much like the production of pennies, involves a delicate balance of cost efficiency and technological advancements.
That's a great way to put it, and it underscores the importance of understanding these underlying dynamics, whether you're interested in traditional currency systems or the world of cryptocurrency.
Welcome back to the deep dive into this unexpected world of pennies and Dogecoin and the forces that shape the value of things.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground from the rising cost of zinc to the intricacies of cryptocurrency mining.
Yeah.
But now I think let's shift our focus to the bigger picture.
Okay.
What are the key takeaways our listeners should walk away with from this deep dive?
That's a great question. I think one of the most important insights is that we often take things for granted without fully understanding the complex systems behind them.
Exactly. The humble penny, something we encounter almost every day, serves as a powerful example. It represents a web of economic factors, manufacturing processes, and even geopolitical influences.
And it's not just pennies. This applies to so many things in our lives.
Yeah.
From the food we eat to the technology we use.
Absolutely. Understanding the hidden costs, the environmental impacts, and the social implications of our choices is essential for becoming more informed and responsible consumers.
It's about, looking beyond the surface and recognizing the interconnectedness of our world.
Precisely. And that brings us to another key takeaway, the importance of adaptability. As we've seen with both the penny and Dogecoin, Changing conditions require us to be flexible and innovative.
Yeah, the US Mint is grappling with rising zinc prices, while Dogecoin miners have to navigate fluctuating electricity costs and evolving technologies.
Exactly. Whether it's a government agency or an individual investor, the ability to adapt is crucial for success.
So what does this mean for our listeners? How can they apply these insights to their own lives?
Well, it starts with curiosity. Don't be afraid to ask questions, dig deeper, and challenge assumptions. The more we understand about how the world works, the better equipped we are to make informed decisions.
And those decisions can range from something as simple as choosing which products to buy to something as complex as evaluating investment opportunities.
Exactly. The principles we've discussed apply across the board.
Now, before we wrap up, I want to touch on one final point. We've talked about the possibility of the U.S. eliminating the penny following Canada's lead, but what would a penniless society actually look like?
Well, it's likely that the transition would be similar to what Canada experienced. Cash transactions would be rounded to the nearest 5 cents, and electronic payments would remain unaffected. Some people might find it strange at first, but it would likely become the new normal fairly quickly.
And it would save the government millions of dollars each year.
That's right. It's a reminder that even small changes can have significant impacts.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today, from the surprising cost of producing a penny to the complexities of Dogecoin mining. We've explored how seemingly unrelated topics can intersect and reveal broader economic trends.
It's been a fascinating journey, and hopefully our listeners have gained some valuable insights that they can apply to their own lives.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We hope you've enjoyed it, and remember, the world is full of fascinating connections waiting to be discovered. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking questions.